All right, so how do you pick the city? How do you determine, okay, this is a good city? What are the criteria that you look at? You've decided on a niche, let's say it's tree service, and now you're trying to pick a city. What are the criteria that you should look at in order to say, okay, this is a good city, I'm gonna do it? Now, I was taught to do it a specific way, and I followed that advice to a T. And I believe that advice was good advice at the time, but it got outdated. And so what ended up happening is I built a lot of sites that checked the boxes for a certain due diligence market research process, only to find out things had changed. And now I had built all these sites, and that city was actually really, really competitive. And so the game is, for those that are new, or they're just learning about this model, is we want to find cities where we can, as soon as we get the deal, we can then go and build a website and we can rank it as quickly as possible. Because if we rank our website, the leads and the phone calls and everything that comes in from the site, that's free, right? It doesn't cost us any money. That's called organic traffic. We don't have to pay for paid ads. And so the way I teach rank and rent, I don't teach rank and rent, I teach rent then rank, is I want you to get the deal on the front end. I want you to be making money from day one. So I want you to set up ads, go and run an ad, get some leads, close the deal, and then build it out. So whether you do it my way or you do it everybody else's way, which is, okay, here's a city, here's a niche, I'm gonna build out the site, I'm gonna wait, 3 to 6 months, maybe 12, regardless of how you do it, you're gonna wanna rank the website, right? Actually, that's not totally true, because I have projects where I just put up the landing page, I'm charging $1,000+ a month, I'm only spending $300 to $500 per month, and I'm making the split. But if you wanna do rank and rent, or rent then rank, you want to rank, okay? So let me just cover a couple of the criteria that I think are absolute musts when you're looking at a city, okay? Number one is, what I like to do is I like to, let's say I got a niche. Let's say I got tree service, okay? And I've done that. I've got a lot of tree service sites, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what are the keywords that are the most searched, okay? So I already know this because I've done this homework, but tree service, okay? Tree removal. That's a really good term. It's not only high volume, but it's high ticket, okay? Tree trimming, that's a high volume one, not as high ticket. So what I do is I go and I do the keyword research first, and I figure out, okay, with tree service, what are the 5 terms that get the most amount of volume that have to do with the service? That's step one, okay? Then what I do is I go to Google and I open up an incognito window so that my browser is completely clear. And I type in those terms plus the city. So if we're doing Las Vegas, I'm gonna type in tree service, Las Vegas, NV. Tree removal, Las Vegas, NV, on and on and on 5 times, okay? And then I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna look at what websites rather, keep showing up on page 1 and in the maps, the map section of Google right there at the very top, for those of you that are new. Which companies keep showing up over and over? Because the companies that keep showing up over and over, those are my competition. Those are the people that I need to beat because they are taking my leads, okay? So that's the first thing that I do. And then the criteria that I actually look at is, once I look at the top 3 companies, sometimes the top 4. I go and it's like, well, that's great. You identified 4 companies or 4 websites. What exactly do you look at to know if it's gonna be easy or if it's gonna be a good city? Here's what I look at, okay? I look at 4 things. I'm going to give you the 3 things that are fairly obvious, and I'll give you a 4th that I specifically look at that I think is absolutely necessary, especially if you want to do rent first, rank later. Kind of sounds like a Drake song, you know what I'm saying? So here's the things I look at. Number 1 is I look at the age of the domain. I want to look at those 3 to 4 competitors. How old is their website? How old is their domain? Because Google likes them an old domain because it shows, at least theoretically, at least that's what they say, it shows that that company's been around for a while, that website's been around a while, and it has trust with Google. So number 1, I look at age. Number 2 is I look at content. I look at how many pages that website has, but I also look at the density of that content, the authority of that content. I look at the keywords within that content. Most often, the content is garbage, okay? The content on these websites is absolute garbage, and I'm talking about for the competitor websites, because people don't understand content. They don't, and they want their homepage to be nice and pretty and aesthetic and look like Apple. That's cool, but their content sucks, okay? But I am gonna look at it, because if I look at a site that has really good authoritative content and it's old domain, I'm gonna be in for a project, right? It's gonna be a battle. Third thing that I look at is I look at the backlinks, and I look at the number of backlinks and I look at the quality, because honestly, the quantity doesn't matter, but I do want to know. But the quality is what matters. And if I look at, 2 of those 4 competitors have backlinks from really, really trusted websites, like let's just theoretically say they had a link from Forbes, okay, and a link from the New York Times. Dude, I'm smoked. I'm never gonna win because they're associated with those companies. This isn't a backlink video, but that's gonna be very difficult. So I look at those 3 things first. I look at the age of the domain, I look at the content, and I look at the backlinks. And then I lied. There's actually 2 other things I look at. I look at the citations, okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll make other videos on that. But the citations essentially is different places across the web that your name, address, phone number that you have with Google is sprinkled, okay? We'll get into that later. Don't worry too much about it, but I do check the citations and I do look at the reviews. I look at the quality of the review and also the quantity. And if they have 256 reviews and they're all just garbage and they look like they're fake accounts, I'm not as worried. But if they have what look like really good reviews, it could be a factor, okay? At least for me to get into the map section. And those are the things that I look at, okay? Now those are pretty common, okay, that makes sense. But there's another factor that I look at, another thing that I look at that I think you're crazy not to check out. And that is, I go and I search those same keywords plus the city, and I look at the cost per click, the average cost per click, okay? Now, why do I do that? Well, because I'm gonna run ads. So let's say we look at the city, right? And everything looks good. The competitors, their domains, there's an inverse relationship between domain age and how tough it is. So the newer the website is, actually the easier it's going to be to outrank them, at least in that category. So I'm going to look at the domain, but let's just say theoretically it was easy competition. These websites were garbage. They didn't have old domains. They had no backlinks. They had very little content and their reviews sucked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I would then go and look at the cost per click, because even though it's easy to rank, at least theoretically, because of all these factors, I know that I'm going to be running ads at the beginning to get the deal, right? And I don't want to go into a city where it's going to cost me $15 per click, right? That means you would have to literally convert 100% of your clicks and you would still spend quite a bit of money, okay? So my golden rule is that with CPC, if it's not less than $5, I'm out, okay? I'm out. And I'm not going to go into why it's 5. That's just my number. I will talk about that later. But I have spent over $1.2 million on Google Ads. My average cost per click is $4.21. Okay, it's my average cost per click, over $1.2 million spent, and it's less than $5. Those are my criteria. If all those things check out, I know that I have a good niche, because I'm not going to go into stupid niches. I go into boring niches that I know work, and I know this city is going to be something that's rankable, and it's something that if I turn on ads today and I run ads, I'm not going to lose the farm trying to get some leads to come in. And let's just say, I don't know, I rank the website, Christmas comes, winter comes, I get de-indexed, something crazy happens, and I need to keep the client happy. I need to turn on ads to supplement. I can throw on ads and not lose all of my money, and I still am going to make a profit the entire time. So those are the criteria. That's exactly the things that I look at. Now, I have an entire process. I'll show you guys exactly in a future video what I do, what I look at, how I organize all the data. But every single time, those are the things that I look at. And if you want to ask, okay, how many of these like market research documents have you done? How many cities and niche combinations have you looked at? At this point, I would estimate in the high hundreds, for sure hundreds and hundreds, but the high hundreds. We have to be knocking on 1,000 of these things. So I have done this over and over and over. So if you're somebody that's done this once, keep going, okay? And if you've done this 100 times, keep going. I've done this a lot, so I know what to look for. I know when there's telltale signs it's going to be easy to rank. I know when there's telltale signs this is going to be a dogfight. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And if you're going to play this game, let's play it for real. But those are the factors that I look at when I'm determining, is this a good city, and should I build a website, and should I target and go after a client in that specific city?